Hello. Welcome to English Extras. I'm Jean, your guide to making your English sound natural and authentic. This podcast is all about helping intermediate and advanced learners move beyond textbook phrases so you can express yourself with confidence. Want to follow along with today's episode? Check out the transcript linked in the description. It's packed with key vocabulary, definitions, and example sentences, as well as links to additional resources to help you take your learning to the next level. Ready? Let's get started. You have worked so hard to learn English. Maybe you've spent years learning English, but you still feel like you struggle to find the perfect word to express yourself. Have you ever had a conversation with a native speaker and you're explaining something and you suddenly freeze? You know there's a really good word to use here, but you just can't think of one? Or maybe you know you learned a good word to use here, but you can't recall it. I've been an English language teacher since 2019. I see this happen with my students all the time. And I do it myself in the languages I've learned. Honestly, it's not pleasant to say, but this is an unavoidable part of the language learning journey. And that's actually a good thing because it means it isn't your fault. You are not a bad learner. You're simply learning. If you aren't uncomfortable, you aren't learning. And we are all here to learn. When this happens to my students, I always say it a different way. And I can give you options for the word you were probably looking for, or I can teach you a new word for this situation. Always try to use the words you already know to explain yourself, and let native speakers give you suggestions for a better way to say it, if there is a better way. Because maybe you actually explained it perfectly. That is always a possibility. So I'm going to answer 2 questions today. The first question is, where do I find new vocabulary? And the second is, how do I remember new vocabulary so I can use it? We'll start with the first question. Where do I find new vocabulary to learn? If you are learning from a textbook or a course, then you will find new vocabulary there. But if you're learning completely on your own, then you have a lot of options. First, make sure you are consuming content that is slightly above your current level. You should be able to understand at least 90% of what you read or hear. Why is this important? It's important because if the material is too advanced, you won't have enough context to understand new words because there are too many words you don't know. If the material is too easy, you will understand everything and you won't learn anything new. You will only strengthen what you already know. What content you want to consume is up to you. It's your choice, and it depends on your level. It might be difficult to find materials just above your level. Believe me, I understand the struggle because not only should the content be just above your level, but it should also be interesting. It's hard to find both. But keep looking. There's so much English content out there on the internet. You will be able to find something. This actually segues into my next point, which is to find a variety of content to consume. It's good to find materials that you really like, but it's also important to try other formats. Maybe you only like to watch TV series. Cool. But have you tried podcasts? Have you tried YouTube videos or TikToks? Exploring a variety of formats will expose you to a variety of vocabulary. You will also learn more vocabulary by exploring a variety of topics. Watch cooking shows to learn cooking vocabulary. Watch booktubers to learn book vocabulary. Listen to crime podcasts to learn police vocabulary. If you are trying to jump from intermediate to advanced, then exploring as many different topics as possible is a good strategy for you. You can also create a sense of immersion in your daily life by changing your phone language to English. Or, if that's too extreme for you, choose a different piece of technology to change. For example, 2 of my students play Mario Kart with me, and their Nintendo Switches are entirely in English, not their native languages. Another great way to expand your English vocabulary is to play word-related games in English. I did this with French. For example, I bought a book of French word search puzzles. Each puzzle has a theme, so I was able to pick up a lot of vocabulary and interact with it for every theme. But it doesn't have to be word searches. It can be crossword puzzles, Scrabble, or Wordle. Wordle is free, and there's a new word every day. I've played Wordle in Spanish. It's a great game for vocabulary. But let's say you see a word you already know, like get, but you see it being used in a different way. Do you know how many different phrasal verbs you can make with the word get? It's honestly crazy. Just off the top of my head, get away, get back, get down, get gone, get in. And there's a dozen more. So even if you see a word you already know, maybe it is appearing inside a collocation that has a different meaning. So all of this is great, but how are we supposed to remember all of this? Now let's discuss the second question. How do I remember this vocabulary in order to use it? If you like learning in context only, not textbooks or courses, but by watching videos or listening to podcasts like this one, then my recommendation is to watch, listen, and when you are finished watching or listening, try to write down all the new words and phrases you can remember. It doesn't have to be every single new word. Maybe pick a theme. For example, while I was watching a Spanish TV show, there were a ton of words I didn't know, but I decided to focus on the swear words. After I watched a section of the episode, I opened a document and tried to recall as many of the swear words as possible. The reason I recommend this is because you should try to practice active recall. Active recall is the process of purposefully remembering information. Remembering is like a muscle. The more we practice remembering, the better we will be able to get that information in the future when we need it. If you try to remember as many words as you can after you watch something, you are practicing active recall, and you should do this as often as possible. Another thing you can do is take new words and make your own sentences with them. The more you use the new information, the better. Remember, memory is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it will be. Use it or lose it. Of course, if you like to study English, you can take these techniques further. You can track new words in a document or database, organize them, and make them into flashcards with apps like Anki or Quizlet. Flashcards may feel cold and academic, but they're designed with memory in mind. They can be very useful if your goal is to memorize. When it comes to memory, associations are gold. When you find a new word, see if you can associate or connect that new word to something you already know, even if it's in your native language. Now, I don't recommend translating. That's different. But let me give you an example. Take the word biology. Biology is the study of life and organic materials like humans and animals and other things. Maybe you already know the word biography. See how both words have the same bio part? That's because bio means life. Biology is the study of life, and biography is the record of life. If your goal is to expand your vocabulary, my advice is the same for anything you learn in a language. Learn a little bit every day. Start with a goal of 3 to 5 words a day. You can start with synonyms of words you already know. You already know the word big, so why not learn gigantic, enormous, and huge? Just don't overdo it. Your brain may have a lot of space available, but it can get tired very quickly, just like exercising a muscle too much at the gym. If you learn 10 words a day, or just one, try to do it every day. Consistency is better than intensity. I know you're busy. You've got a lot happening in your life, but if learning English is your goal and you want to expand your vocabulary, find 5 minutes to watch a video or listen to a song and find a new word to learn. Celebrate every win. You're doing a lot of work learning English. Make sure you're being kind to yourself. Remembering vocabulary is a muscle that you can grow with time and consistency. Explore the techniques I mentioned today and see what works for you and what doesn't. Final reminder, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Share your favorite memory techniques in the comments. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.